good. My husband just got some information. Apparently, there's shots fired at the CIA
Wow.
just now. They're on lockdown.
Wow. There's nothing on the news yet. We'll keep an eye on
Yeah.
that. But not surprising with the JFK files being released and pointing back to the CIA. We see why Mike Pompeo did not want to release those. I don't think there's any new bombshell information yet, at least I saw, but you see that Lyndon Johnson was behind it. Roger Stone wrote a book about that. He knew CIA, some of the mob, the Bushes. So it's what we thought and what we've been talking about for years. But for the person who never knew and doesn't follow it, it might be something new. But remember, this is pretty significant. JFK, one of our presidents, our own government took him out.
Yeah. It is very significant. And the reason why they took him out is going to bring shockwaves, because it's not the fact that they just took him out. There's a reasoning behind what was going on. I mean, there is a lot of deep secrets. And if he had some deep secrets that he knew about, which we are pretty sure that he did, because he wanted to dismantle the CIA.
Yep.
He talked about that right before he was assassinated, and a month later then he was assassinated. Well, what I thought interesting about some of the release of the JFK files, I just was skimming over them this morning because the Gateway Pundit actually had a really good article breaking certain things down. But they were talking about how they were warned prior to the assassination attempt and exactly where it was going to be located, where it was going to take place. You also have, and I remember we've been talking about this before, the similarities with JFK and the Trump assassination. Well, Lee Harvey Oswald was not a good shooter. He was a bad shot. So how can a person that's such a bad shot be good? It's not by accident. Like, it just doesn't just happen that way. The same thing with Thomas Crooks, who tried to take out President Trump. He also wasn't that great of a shot. He was not a trained sniper or anything. And I know that wasn't that far away. But at the same time, there's too many similarities, because we know there's more than one shooter at JFK, which they've tried to destroy that narrative for a long time, which we know because of how many bullets were hitting him and the location and direction the bullets hit him. But also with Thomas Crooks, we know there was more than one gunshot fire. We know there had been somebody training him, just like with Lee Harvey Oswald. Apparently, he was connected to the Russia or something. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm not really sure, but there's so many things that are going to go on. But God has been telling us for a long time, these type of secrets are going to crumble and destroy the establishment. And that's the reason why they have done everything to try to hold these secrets back. And I believe even with the 80,000 pages that are on the JFK assassination, there's still some that have to be destroyed. There are still some that they're hiding. Somewhere, some way, shape, and form. They're not going to have, only certain people, I think, have access to what is really the ones that are going to be released, and the ones that are not going to be released. I think that those are being held back. I don't know if they have, like the Trump administration has everything. I have a feeling that they're hiding certain documents that will really implicate people who are still alive right now.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. The second shooter against President Trump, many reports now that there's ties to Ukraine. So that is going to get incredibly deeper. Also, back to Johnson. There was a scandal I'm told there was a scandal about ready to come out on Johnson before. He was offended the way JFK treated him, I'm told. He was also one of the major senators in charge of the overlook of the CIA, the dark money. So many believe that they worked together to pull this off. What's fascinating about Johnson, though, is I was born on Andrews Air Force Base, where Air Force One is. My father, when he was in the Air Force, was the Air Force One chef for Johnson. The reason I bring this up is because something peculiar happened a few years ago that it didn't dawn on me until the last couple of years. My father went into the surgery, and they put him out. And when he woke back up, there was Secret Service around him, and he couldn't figure out why the Secret Service. Well, they were probably afraid that on the course of being the chef on Air Force One with Johnson, he saw something or heard something he shouldn't have, and maybe he would have released it. So that was peculiar. That's my assumption. But yeah, CIA, Johnson, all this come together. Also, one of the things that JFK did, he was putting silver as the back of our monetary system, and he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. So you had a lot of people that wanted to take him out.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. That's a thing where there's, just like with Epstein and JFK and MLK, it's not just the point of their deaths, it's what's behind it. Because one of the things that God has been giving us in many different prophetic words, they will do anything and they will kill anyone to keep the establishment going and to keep their secrets hidden. And when people get too close to those secrets, they will die. Just like they had on here on the Gateway Pundit. I don't remember exactly which one it was because there were so many that were on here. But somebody was releasing actually information of what was going on, and he was found dead like a week later. I don't remember exactly who he was. I'd have to go back through all of these things that the Gateway Pundit released. So like I said, I just glazed over them this morning. But I thought it was also interesting that Oswald made contact with the Soviet embassy in Mexico City. Like, there's certain things that this happened. And again, all this traces back to the CIA.
Yep.
Like, the CIA also apparently stopped foreign media from releasing any certain details regarding the assassination of JFK. Well, why would the CIA get involved if it was transparent and if it was just Lee Harvey Oswald and everything was okay? You got the killer. All of a sudden, now the killer is dead. Okay, great. It's the end of story. Close the books. We're done. Why would you need to take that further step and make sure that you have foreign media not talk about it or not have certain details released on it? So there's just things to me that don't add up and don't make sense, but it all goes back to the CIA. Mm-hmm. Everything goes back to the CIA and the deep state. So there's also one on here about, it says, these new documents suggest the CIA was trying to actively suppress international foreign media coverage from speculating the CIA was involved with killing President JFK. So that's the part I forgot. So that's the reason why the foreign media was contacted by the CIA, that they were not allowed. They were actively suppressing this internal or international foreign media coverage from speculating the CIA was involved. So they're trying to cover their tracks even internationally.
Yeah. And also they're in that report. And I think Roger Stone said this before. I don't know if this was in the Warren Commission, but on Lee Harvey Oswald, there was no gunpowder resin. So that means they checked him right after the shot. If you take a shot of a rifle, and especially those old rifles, you're going to have gunpowder on you. He had none. Yep. So he might not even have fired a shot. Well, according to that, he didn't.
I don't think he was.
Yeah.
When I started hearing about this stuff and really started digging in more to, the operations and the deep state of our country. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, I have a love for this country. I thought everything was on point and everything was good. And there's only like Democrats were bad and blah, blah, blah. And certain politicians. And then you realize how bad this really is. Well, you think about it. I watched the movie called Shooter. We've talked about this before. It was Mark Wahlberg was in that movie. I'm a movie buff. I like watching movies. The first thing I said, and I looked at Chris, the first thing I said, I'm like, dude, this is like JFK. This is like so many things that happen where somebody set up and it makes it look like one way because they had him scope everything out. And they're making him seem like he is investigating and making sure that they have all their points across. So because he's a sniper and he was one of the best snipers there was, and they wanted to see, hey, because you're a sniper, because you have this experience, we want to know where snipers would be set. So we want you to go and do this investigating. Well, they used all that evidence against him. Mm-hmm. He actually didn't shoot the rifle. He actually wasn't there, but they took the rifle and they made it look like it was shot. And it was like the most crazy thing. But at the same time, this happens. And that something similar happened with President Trump. Similar happened with, that Thomas Crooks did shoot a shot. I don't know if it was, it definitely wasn't every single shot. And was it the shot that hit him in the ear? We don't know
Yeah.
because I know there had to be somebody else. He could have not have done that. If the FBI, the CIA was not involved, he would not have been able to accomplish what he accomplished because all that place would have been covered up. They would have covered their tracks to make sure every point of every building was secure. And they didn't do that.
Mm-mm.
Too many things were off. Again, doesn't make sense. Similar to the JFK assassination, too many things were off. People weren't making sense. And all of a sudden, when you have whistleblowers, you're having to say, I saw this, I saw that. They were suppressing their witness statements, and some of those people ended up dead.
Mm-hmm.
So these things just don't add up. And that's because if there is no transparency, then you know they're hiding something extremely bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so happens that Oswald was a Marine, and Marky Wahlberg, I believe in that movie, he was a Marine sniper, wasn't he? So they always pin us Marines on these things.
Mm-hmm.
We're the fall guys.
And something else I want to bring up with this too. I thought this was very interesting when I read this. Now this involves JFK Jr. right before his death. So we already know that they killed his dad, his uncle, Martin Luther King Jr. So trying to figure out why exactly they killed him, but they killed him for a reason. But breaking, JFK Jr. called out Joe Biden for being a traitor to the United States right before he was killed. To me, that's so, one, I knew that JFK Jr., from when I heard him, I was young when this all happened, but I remember when he was killed, I don't, there's could be more to that story. Anyway, he was going to avenge his dad's death. He was going to dig into his dad's death and figure out what happened because he also knew, just like RFK Jr. knows, this was all an inside job. I never knew that he was saying that Biden was a traitor. So if Biden was a traitor, what was he being a traitor for? What did JFK Jr. have on Biden that they could have potentially killed him for? Goes back to Biden. I just found out this morning, which goes along with the prophecy that I just gave out this morning and the ones I've given out last week and the last couple of years. The Bidens are going to be their downfall, and I think this is going to be part of it.
Yeah, it is. We showed that document on JFK Jr. 2 years ago. I was given that. I don't know if that was in the Warren report, but I had access to it. I had it 2 years ago, and I showed people, and some people got it. But now that the JFK files are released, people are getting into it. JFK Jr. had something on him. I believe it ties into what we see with Ukraine and more, selling your soul to enrich yourself. And it may go even deeper with bloodlines and sons that are not here anymore. One thing we do know that JFK Jr. was aware of Hillary Clinton out to get him. And it's kind of like what the old saying, Epstein didn't kill himself. JFK Jr. did not die in that plane crash. He didn't die in that plane crash.
That's what I've heard. But it's hard to just like I was told that there's evidence that Epstein is actually not dead.
Yeah, I've been told that he's alive.
Whether or not, again, it's true. I've also been told the same thing, that JFK Jr. did not die in that plane crash. There's so many things that I want to know who is really dead that look like they're alive and who's really alive that people think they're dead. Hollywood plays such a huge part in this. We know that. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is a lot to do with it. But Biden, remember the prophecy that God had given me back several months ago, if not a year ago. Biden was going to be their downfall.
Yeah.
And I had more actually prophetically given to me in this last week regarding more of Biden, and why Ukraine will be the fall to the establishment. I also had that. It's something where they were doing certain things all over in many different countries. Ukraine is like, I don't know if it's exactly the heart of it, but
Pretty
one
close.
of the things that God said, one of the things that God said in yesterday's prophecy, I'll read it to you, but that Doge and God's, he's infiltrated infiltrators. They're right over the target, and they are about to hit the main artery of the heart of the establishment.
They are.
Now, if you hit a main artery of a human being, they can bleed out within minutes and their life is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think when God was giving us that analogy, it really puts it in perspective. Once that main artery's hit of the establishment, it'll be gone, and it won't take very long to do it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think President Trump has a smoking gun. Some of the things he said, let's talk about the pardon, for example. He said the pardon's null and void. We now know the auto pen. I think we talked about this last week. There's 2 auto pens. He wasn't in Washington, D.C. when that signed. So it's null and void. So I believe President Trump has a smoking gun to bring that out. There's more to it. But now there's reports. I don't remember who reported this week, but there's somebody prominent that reported this week. I think 2 people reported this, that they believe Hunter Biden signed his own pardon. Hunter signed it. So that would be null and void. You just can't make this up. So it even gets crazier about Ukraine. We had Chanel Ryan on from OAN. She's the one that was working on the first Ukraine story with One American News. She said she couldn't say much because she's got an ongoing investigation on Ukraine, but she did say that there's going to be some major announcements soon on that. And also she said they can track the money down to where this $300 billion went to Ukraine. Oh, they're in trouble.
God said, money, follow the money, find the truth. And he's been saying that money would be their ultimate downfall. And so now I have had a lot on Ukraine. You know that because we've been talking about it. Remember, it was a couple months ago, God said that these pardons were a laughing matter. And these pardons, I think he said either null and void, or he said they'd be annihilated. I don't remember exactly which word, but he said they were laughable and they weren't going to stick. He said something again to me on the 15th about pardons. He said those pardons that were signed were a trap. Your enemies thought they were protecting their secrets when in actuality, they was giving themselves away and leading my infiltrators in the direction needed to take them down once and for all. This was something, it stuck with me. And I still am praying into it. The deadly secret that has held the Bidens in power is all coming out on full display. You can take that a couple ways. Whether they killed for it, or the deadly secret that's talking about is who was really in the White House and why God calls Biden the Biden and he doesn't call him Joe.
Yep.
This is something they also says up here. I want to give this because this is great detail. He started talking about the Bidens again in great detail, which he hasn't really talked about him too much recently. But when he starts talking about him more, that means something's about to come to fruition. He says Hunter first. Hunter Biden is about to come back to haunt the establishment for all the things he did in foreign nations. That not only did you try to cover up and destroy the evidence and kill people for the secrets to stay hidden, because everything led back to the establishment. It will cause your total collapse. His biggest loose end will be Burisma, where it will lead to one of your honey holes that will completely dismantle you, and your biggest foreign or fraud money laundering scheme and financial hotspot. It will lead to others as well in other nations that you pay to do your bidding and to hide crucial secrets that could never be found. The Biden secrets and their crime family connections will lead to major deals in China, and the secrets that we're allowed to give to China in order for a trade for election interference and guaranteed victories, and to destroy President Trump with everything they could throw at him. The Biden leaks are coming. The assassination directions that where they came from are coming out. The auto pen is a bigger cover-up and a deep state failure that will lead to who was directing and calling the shots in the White House when Biden was supposedly the president. All the Biden's instructions that were given to him and his team and the architects of it all will no longer be protected. Once you see the Biden's unprecedented exposure, watch how fast the big lie can no longer be hidden and kept alive. Those pardons were signed were a trap. Your enemies thought they were protecting their secrets, and actually was giving themselves away and leading my infiltrators into the direction they needed to take them down once and for all. Their deadly secret that has held the Bidens in power is all coming out in full display. So I all wanted to read it together. Then, right underneath of this, about the Bidens, Ukraine is a bigger problem and a bigger threat to this nation because the establishment will try to protect the secrets in Ukraine, and they will do anything to keep things hidden. Ukraine falls, so does the establishment. That's how serious this is, and that's how far and deep the deep state will go to try to protect the secrets in Ukraine that will lead back to them. My children, my infiltrators are right over the target to take down the Biden, the Obamas, the Clintons, the establishment, the dark financial system, and it will all collapse right in front of your eyes. So he goes on, he talks about Hunter. But I don't know if I read all of it about Hunter, because it talked about how, I think I did say it, how he was going to be the downfall because he was like this puppet. They drugged him up. They let him go to all these different foreign countries. They tried to cover up for all the evidence, and they killed people for it. For these things to stay hidden, so it wouldn't be laid back to the establishment. So they let him do all these different things, get into all these different countries, do all the bidding, but he was so drugged up, he made so many mistakes. And now it's going to come back to haunt them.
Yes, it is. It's this week, Laura Loomer busted Hunter in South Africa with 18 Secret Service agents guarding him. President Trump just found out about that. He released this 18 Secret Service. Now we find out the State Department was giving them vehicles. And then yesterday, I don't know if you've seen this bizarre video that Hunter did. It is absolutely bizarre. Everybody's trying to figure out if it's a code, but he's just as strange. He's videotaping himself for about a minute going in and out of this door, and got a lot of people speculating what it's all about. But Ukraine, again, as we've been saying, Ukraine is going to unload the 2020 election stealing, money laundering, human trafficking, January 6th, and also the assassination attempt on President Trump. It's all connected. And again, I go back to this. It hasn't come out yet, but it will. About January 6th, there was a Ukrainian element in the crowd that helped cause this, and their target was to make that a massacre. And they were stopped, I believe, by the grace of God.
Ukraine is so desperate that now they're swatting people in this country. They're aiming at people. And unfortunately, I know Alex Jones, one of the people that worked for him, died. You have, I think his name is Sean. He is the one who does a great presidential Trump impersonation. He was actually swatted. He only had lived there for like 3 weeks. And they swatted him. One of the things they did was murder by suicide, like a cop, a suicide. So he was just going to open the door, supposing the cops were supposed to aim at him because he killed his entire family or something so outrageously crazy. So apparently some of these things are leading back because all of the Ukrainian secrets are going out. So they have a list of people targeting of those who are exposing Ukraine.
Well, even yesterday, it's
being allowed to happen.
That Kash Patel's address was doxxed. I believe that's connected to that and the Tesla firebombing. And here's the disturbing thing that I was given, what is today, Wednesday? I was given this, I think, Monday morning by an Israeli general. This was in the United States of America. This in Detroit, Michigan. I think this video was last week. I think it's Palestinian youth, something like that. They had a conference in Detroit, Michigan, inside the United States, called for the downfall of the United States of America, to do jihad in America. That ties to this calm that we've been talking about, that these terror cells are in all 40 cities, and they want to have like the George Floyd riot, protesting on and violence and all of this in the name of Islam. And what was very disturbing, I'm gonna play this video sometime this week. It's a long video, but I'm gonna cut it up. But I saw on that video that Tlaib, a congresswoman out of Dearborn, gets in and is on videotape calling for the jihad against America. That's treason. That's absolute treason. This is what they're trying to stir up right now. They want riots and death in America, literally.
The Lord said that they were going to try to attack with their foreign militia, and they were going to fill the streets. He also said, again, we know they want to do 9/11 style attacks.
Yep.
In major cities. When people are unaware, I don't know if it'll be, big places where people are at, like concerts or whatever. I don't know. Doesn't say, the prophecy does not say this at all. But when he gave me that prophecy last week about the calm before the storm is almost over. We've been in this calm period. Yes, there's been a lot of explosive things. Yes, there's been a lot of things, but a lot of things are being revealed, but this is nothing. He says we've only grazed the surface of what is really, truly going to come out. If they're going, just like he said, they will do anything and everything to hide the secrets in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I thought this was interesting when I read earlier, Hunter Biden's biggest loose end would be Burisma. And I'm trying to figure out what is to do with Burisma and why that's such a huge loose end. We're going to find out while what he was there for. There was an assignment he was there for. It's got to be bigger than what obviously has been found, but it all goes back to Ukraine. And I think that's what is so astonishing, because I've had prophecies on Ukraine for like 4 years. And God has been like going back there and says, there's more. It's deeper and it's darker, and it will collapse once this is shown. And like you said, if there's proof of all that $300 billion, it's going to go back to the padded pockets of our politicians in Washington.
Yep.
They use foreign aid, just like the prophecy has been saying. They were using foreign aid as a front in order to pad their own pockets to do more destruction against this country. And he even said they were going to start giving keywords out to release a foreign militia in this country. There are still terrorist cells in this country. They still want complete chaos in the streets, which God said they were going to try. They're going to do certain things, but it's not going to be to the degree, and it won't be as destructive as they originally planned it to be.
Well, I know, I believe some of this is public. I can't remember who's come up with this, but to Ukraine, Burisma, Romney's involved, Pelosi's involved, McConnell's involved, Schumer's involved, and Lindsey Graham are involved. So it's not just the Democrats that are involved. There's Republicans involved in this too.
I just had, and I don't have a lot of prophecies on him. I've only had a couple. I think it comes out tomorrow where he lists them with those exact people that you just talked about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't have that one dictated out yet. So I wish I had that one in front of my face right now, because I would just read it to you. But he just mentioned, and he usually, when he groups out, now look what's happening with Schumer. Remember Schumer, God said he was going to take a fall.
Oh, yeah.
He's already taken a fall. They are in such panic mode, disarray, dysfunction, just like God would say, because the more they're hemorrhaging, the more they're in panic, and the more they were make mistakes, and the more they were going to betray each other. And apparently, I don't know exactly, I guess Schumer voted a certain way that they didn't appreciate, and they're now turning their backs on him.
Yeah, he was he had a anti-Semitic rally or something that the Democrats fought against him, that he had to shut it down. And then yesterday on The View, oh, he had a complete meltdown, just an absolute meltdown. The Republicans are going to take what Schumer said on The View and make that a campaign in 2026 and 2028, because he went against everything American people stand for. He was saying government, 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 not your money, you can't build businesses, kind of like Obama did, but worse.
Yeah, because they see the government as theirs, and we are just their slaves. We're just the peasants that build, what they want us to build, and that's it. That's why God calls them pharaohs of today. They are no different. They think they're haughty. They are so prideful. They are so arrogant. They think they can control whatever they want when they want. And that's why God has been giving so many different prophecies and so many different scriptures along with those prophecies, proving that God's kingdom and his dominion over the nations is everlasting. I gave out several different scriptures this morning regarding that once again, because people need to be reminded that God is not going to just sit back and let these people do whatever they want, because they're not their nations to have, and they're not their nations to control. And also, God is a judge over all the earth. And these judges that are doing all of these things, I had another powerful word over the weekend about judges. Judges are going to come down. I just got another report. I don't know if it's more shooting outside of the CIA building, but I just got it sent to me again. So I don't know if it's the same one or what's going on, but it's starting to spread. I don't know what CIA building. If somebody can text me that and let me know. All I saw, it was a picture off Rumble. Somebody was actually doing a live stream from there. It's LFA TV. They were doing a live stream from there of there's cops and there's SWATs, everything everywhere in front of the CIA building. They have it on lockdown.
Wow. All right, we're going to keep monitoring. None of the feeds we have right now are picking that up yet. Creed, can you see if you can research this current CIA shooting and maybe get one of the TVs up here to a live feed? Talking about the judges, this judge that has got America just bewildered, who told President Trump that these terrorists in Venezuela that were on a plane, that he had to bring them back. Now we find out his daughter was tied into illegal aliens as well. But the smoking gun here, one person has said it so far, but I think they're wanting us to dig. He was a member of the FISA court under John Roberts. And John Roberts came out yesterday and said, you can't impeach people. You don't do that kind of thing, which that's what the Constitution is. So John Roberts was in charge of the FISA court. That's one of the 17 scandals. This judge that went against President Trump for Venezuela terrorists was a FISA judge, one of the judges that was out to get Trump on the Russia hoax.
Wow. This is so deeply embedded. Tell Creed it's on Fox News.
Put it on Fox
News. And it's in Langley, Virginia. These connections with all these judges and their daughters and what they're connected to, it's amazing how many, because you remember Judge Engron and his daughter was connected with certain things. It's all in the family. Like one of the things that the Lord was saying about this, I think the prophecy that I gave you last week about bloodline and how bloodlines are so important. You just mentioned that again earlier when we first got on the broadcast. Bloodlines are important, and that's the reason why they only want certain people in the establishment, it goes along with the bloodline. I think that's the reason why there's so many different family members that are allowed certain positions to keep it all where it's in the family, trusted and protected.
So when President Trump was following, some people say, well, you get this to the Supreme Court around the Aliens Act that he executed with terrorists, or that's the job of the commander in chief to make sure we're safe. So the judge had no right to do that. Even the Supreme Court, I'm told, Megyn Kelly talked about this yesterday, the Supreme Court had a ruling on that some 30 years ago in a case. So it's settled law that the president can do whatever he wants to keep the American people safe. So that judge had no right to even do that. And then the judge had the audacity to say, not only bring them back, but tell us your active plan that you're working on. And President Trump's team says, it's an ongoing activity. It's a military activity. We're not telling you anything. And that's exactly what he needs to do. This is lawlessness from the judges, and they got to be held accountable. And what it's doing is getting American people start digging more, research, and we're going to find out how ugly this truly is.
Well, when we come back, I will give you the prophecy that God had talked about, dismantling of the enemy's judicial system. It'll go perfectly with what you just said.
Yeah, and there's more of them that are popping up every day. I think there's now 7 or 8. Justice Roberts is being exposed. It's time to get him out of there and get Chief Justice Thomas in his rightful place.
I've been on here a lot talking about judges and how God was going to judge the judges who had been destroying evidence, overlooking evidence, just throwing it out, whatever. So there's been a lot on judges and the justice system, and it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. This is not just, normal judges. It's going to go all the way up to the top. Because God's the judge over all the earth. It's Psalm 75 and verse 7. He takes down and lifts up another. So he can remove judges anytime. These judges have been set in a trap. All these judges that are sabotaging President Trump right now, they don't realize they're thinking they're doing the due diligence. They're doing exactly what the deep state want them. They're prolonging things. It's actually a trap that has been set up, and it's actually going to cause their fall even quicker. Now, this is from the 15th. This is the first one I heard on the 15th. The other one I gave you was the second one, but it says disruption and chaos are overwhelming the enemy's camp. Betrayal is beginning to consume them, and nothing is working, and the ones they used to turn to for leadership and instructions are either abandoning ship or now irrelevant to their cause and agenda because they failed the establishment by not keeping President Trump from the White House. Now all their secrets are in danger of being exposed and their money being drained. They are hemorrhaging everywhere, and their money, their people, and the lines of communication and their secrets. They do not have any way to protect themselves like they used to. Their servers have been hacked, honey holes are being siphoned, and Doge is getting too close to the heart and the main artery of the establishment's power. Wall Street, IRS, ActBlue, big banks, Silicon Valley, the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, Ukraine, the WEF, they're losing the intelligence community, which is their first line of defense. Every way they turn, there are fires and devastation to their secrets and their system that has been kept alive and in power by trap after trap was set, and your enemies have fallen into all of them. They enacted their judges to stop President Trump, to delay, to sabotage in every way they can. But every way your enemies have tried to sabotage my David, it was a trap they will not get out of. They are stuck and sinking quicker in the quicksand of their lies and their manipulation. Judges will fall and be disbarred. Judges will be tried for treason. Woe to the judges of this land. I am coming for you. You have been paid by the enemy to disrupt and delay the truth of destroying it. You padded your pockets, your padded pockets will tell the real story who owns you and who your alliance is really with. The judges in this land of my eagle against me in this nation, your time to rule and time to sentence is over. I'm the judge over all the earth, and my gavel is coming down to bring true justice to this land once again. A time of great shaking is coming to the judicial system, and a great change there will be with every DOJ, lawyer, prosecutor, AG, who have against me, they will flee. I'll remove those in unprecedented ways from their powerful positions. And this is a part of the establishment is being annihilated by my outstretched hand from this land. My children, hold on for the fight for justice in this land, and it will be clear that the end of your enemies is near. You will see one judge after another. You will see one DOJ after another. You will see a collapse of their rulings and their hold they've had to try to change laws to protect the establishment. Their times of manipulating and controlling this justice system is over, says the Lord. Now, before I get going, I'm sure you probably want to add to this, but now he starts naming names of people. And it's funny, I brought her up before, which was Letitia James. I gave it out yesterday morning. Within an hour and a half of me giving this prophecy out, all of a sudden, bombshell report came out on Letitia James.
Yep, she's one of them. But I think one of the biggest ones, as I mentioned, is number 8 of the 17 scandals: Spygate, FISA, Unmasked. Again, John Roberts was the person in charge of FISA. And remember, FISA was abused to spy on President Trump. And that judge in the one that ruled against the Venezuela terrorists, was a member of that FISA court. So that's going to be a scandal. Another scandals that came out this week, Benghazi. Benghazi is Pete Hegseth is opening up all the files to Benghazi. That's number 2. And just yesterday, the State Department pedophilia ring, who was it that covered it up? Peppermint Patty, Pataki. But there was a Clinton State Department pedophilia ring. So there's 3 of the 17 scandals that came out just yesterday alone. But the FISA ties into these judges.
I got to find the Benghazi one because I know that I've had prophecies regarding Benghazi. Here's one. There's several of them. Similar to Benghazi, it's a lie. They are trying to start a war. Things are not how they appear to be. If you are wondering, and some of you are, Benghazi will be exposed. That was one. Now, that was back August 3rd of 2022. Let me see what all that one says besides what I just read to you, because, like I said, there's so many of them. All right. A hostage situation you will yet again be in your news, similar to Benghazi, and it's a lie. They're trying to start a war. Things are not how they appear to be. And if you are wondering, some of you are, Benghazi will be exposed. Hillary will pay for that, and so will Obama and the Biden and John Kerry, Eric Holder, and Susan Rice, and among others. The truth is coming for you. There is no more hiding it or trying to bury it. Oh no, it's all being exposed, along with the plot against all the former presidents who wouldn't bow down to the one world government. It's all happening, my children, so hold on and get ready for great changes around the world. Now, that was August 3rd of 2022. Now, if we want to see other Benghazi ones, this one, I'm so glad my team helped me with this to find words sooner or quicker in my in the prophecies we have on our website. All right, Benghazi is not over. The truth will not be suppressed nor lied about anymore. Shocking information will explode through your airways, incriminating so many in Washington. Hillary, yes. Hillary, all of her crimes are about to be exposed big time, says the Lord. Now, that was May 10th of 2024. So that is 2 of them. Here's another one. Let me see what this one is. I don't want to go through all of them, but I just want to give you an idea that God has been talking about the exposure of Benghazi for years. Benghazi, this name will be in your news once again. All the truth surrounding what happened will be revealed. It is darker and more sinister than you thought, and justice will be served, says the Lord of hosts. Now, this is from December 29th of 2022. There's more of them, but at least I gave you 3 out today from years ago that show that God has been not going to give up on so many things that have been dead and buried. The establishment thought they appease the people, they're going to move on because there's so many other things going on. And God's saying no. And that prophecy title, to me, is important. It's huge. Tribunals have started and will soon be seen. Again, that was from December 29th of 2022. And God has mentioned tribunals several times, and he keeps mentioning treason.
Yep. Treason at the highest level. And, the Benghazi from the public has been quiet for a long time. And Pete Hegseth again said that the files on that are going to come out yesterday too. I don't know if this is public yet, but I was told, I think it is public, that they're not done with the Hillary email on her server. When Comey came out that there was, and we reported this 3 or 4 years ago, but now it's going to become public. Barack Obama was well aware of her using that private server because he was using an alias and a private email as well. So he violated the law as well with that. So Comey had to cover that up. So this whole thing about, as God told you, Obama, Susan Rice, Kerry, all that Holder, it is all coming back on them. You don't hear much from Obama lately because he's very concerned. And just while you were saying that, the Fox News broke into what we were talking about with the Israeli general. There is widespread chaos in New York City right now. Riots, anti-Israel flood New York City. The reports are that they found a handbook. This is well organized, well funded, not grassrooted. They're targeting Columbia University. And that Kahal, that was the immigrant that was arrested, is calling for violence from his jail cell. How is he even getting to speak publicly? They're trying to do exactly what the Israeli general told me they were going to do.
Yep. And one of the things that God said a long time ago, now I'd have to go back and look. He said this again, like I said earlier, the foreign militia will be activated. And I don't think it's a coincidence. You have a congresswoman, you have this terrorist from a jail cell calling for this. You had crazy people that were trying to do stuff to Trump Tower last week. You have all this crazy stuff that they're doing against Teslas. Now they're calling for more in the streets. And I think there was one prophecy that actually said that he would show the architect of the of all the protests and the scripts, or the where they were getting their money and where it's all coming from. It's gonna, I have a feeling some of it is going to go back and link to George Soros. But none of these things were just, like you said, natural. They were planned. That's the reason why you see them having all these, nice signs. You have remember, I remember what riot it was. I think it was in Minneapolis or one of the ones. There was bricks laid out in the street. So they just had them easy access to it. None of these things were just by chance. They were all by design. And the Lord has said like I said, years ago, he's been telling us for a long time that they were going to try to fill the streets and cause much chaos. And again, why they're causing that chaos and why they're filling the streets and they're protesting, it's distracting from something else that's about to come out or something else that's about to be done. They don't want people to pay attention to.
And one of the guidelines that they found, this was reported by Fox News just a few minutes ago, face covering is key. Keep a face mask on so they can't identify who you are. So they found the entire guide, step by step, literally, how to do these things. Well-funded, was not organic, well-funded, not grassroots, and very well organized.
I think that's the same thing where it's going to lead back to the open borders and how the Biden administration gave people directions. They had TikTokers going out, go through this open hole of the border, and this is where you're going to get all these, things that you need from Border Patrol. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Border Patrol that did not want to do this, but that was their order. You got to hand them money. You got to hand them a cell phone. You got to give them all these different things to get by. And like I said, I saw with my own eyes, they have color-coded instructions. They have money inside of these folders. They have everything they need. They're equipped. They have these brand new cell phones. They have brand new clothes. They have brand new luggage. And where is this all coming from? They come from a third world country. They tracked here. They had no money. Somebody's giving them the money. And the reason is because they're paid to come and bring in a terrorist attack in this country. It is not because people were just being kind. It's because they have an assignment to do and they were going to get it done. And that's why they're funding them. And that's why it's so dangerous In order for people to just sit back and go, okay, these people are being deported, there are people that are, again, are still here because there's millions and millions and millions. I don't know how many that they deported, but they can only do it so fast. So this is a really huge deal. They're getting their orders to align. They're getting their orders. You can see that they're hearing these key words to start action in the streets again.
Well, we captured that in our documentary Battle at the Border when I was with Sheriff Lamb. I saw it firsthand, documented and filmed on the movie. They had an app, and they showed me the app. They told them exactly what gate to come in, how to use the system, what they were going to get. And you know what President Trump just did with that app? He flipped that app to say, you self-report. You can come. You will be an opportunity to come back the legal way. But if you don't self-report, we're going to mark you. There's no chance that you're going to ever come into the United States again. So he's boomeranging the same app, which is kind of brilliant. But JJ Carroll, I had on. He's a border guy. Probably about a month ago, he says American people have no idea how many people it truly is. He thinks it's over 30 million that came into this country. 30 million.
We know their numbers were distorted. Just like, their election numbers are always distorted. We knew that open border, because I think if the American people, even including Democrats, would have found out there was 30 million people that were allowed in, there would have been hell to pay. More people would have resisted. More people would have gotten angry. You got to think of all these cities that have been overrun and overtaken, especially like New York City. I mean, their hotels have been overtaken, their schools have been overtaken. Like, they just overtaken it in like the medical facilities that used to be in like Black communities. They overtake them. Now all of them. Same thing that happened in Chicago, because people are rising up. That you said you didn't have any funding. You closed it in our community. Now all of a sudden you're reopening it, and now you're using it for hosting illegal aliens.
Yep.
It's like spitting in the face of every American that has a right. We pay taxes. We are citizens of this country, but you're giving all the benefits and all this free stuff to people who don't belong here, who came here illegally. Again, illegal alien. That means they came here illegally and not a lawful way. We're not saying that nobody can come in, because people can come in legally. It's just by legal means. It may be a harder process, but the fact of there are laws they have to abide. Some people are not abiding by them, but they think they can get away with it. But giving them all this money, all these like debit cards and all these food stamps and they're getting free health care. I mean, it's amazing how American citizens, we have veterans in our own nation that are homeless.
Yep.
But you're going to pay somebody, I don't know how many thousands a month, you're going to pay for them to live. You're going to house them when our people who fought for our country come back and they have nowhere to go. That's unacceptable to me. That's just a slap in the face of all of Americans, and anybody who is for that is absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. You got people on Social Security making $800 to $900, maybe $1,000 a month from the government. And you get these illegals that get 4 times, 5 times that. They're upset. And again, it's not entitlement. The people that get Social Security paid into the system. It's their money.
Yes.
The government wants to tell you you're entitled to. This is entitlement. No, you paid in. If you would have put that into a 401k from the get-go, you would have made 100 times more money. Why did they do it? And people never ask the question why. It was to create a one-party system. 30 million new voters. That affected the census, which would affect the Electoral College, which would have had a dominant party forever. That's why they did it.
Yeah. And before I go into that, because I 100% agree with you, it was not only the foreign army, but it was also to win elections. When we talked about this before with Social Security, I think somebody misunderstood and thought that we were saying you're entitled to get it. No, it is your legal right. Anybody who's on Social Security, that is your right to have it. It's your money. And why the government taxes your money that you've already been taxed on is fraudulent. Yep. You've already been taxed on that money. You should have that money free and clear. You own it. They owe it to you to give it back to you. And I think that somebody wrote in and said that, they just misunderstood that we thought that they were entitled to get it. And we're like, no. The government says you are to make it sound like they're giving you something out of their goodness of their heart. No,
Nope.
that's yours.
It's your money. You
It's
paid into
not
that.
theirs to mess around with, and it's not theirs to give it to whomever they want. And you got to think when Elon Musk found out the fact that they have people that are 150 plus years old, and some even are older than our country, that are benefiting off Social Security, where is that actually going? Who is it being funneled to? Because that's another story in itself.
Yeah, he's working on that. I'm assuming he's got some answers to going to make it public for the first time. However, an update to that, 3.2 million people that were dead, they have now put in the Social Security system deceased. So those payments are not going out any longer. So somebody was cashing these
Good.
checks. Who are cashing these checks?
Mm-hmm.
These dead people, obviously, if you're dead, you can't cash a check. But somebody was cashing the checks.
You know, it's funny because dead people were getting Social Security, but also dead people were voting.
Yeah, they're tied together. That's going to tie into the election fraud too, because that's how you get the voter rolls is through this Social Security and your Social Security number.
The foreign militia that they have here that are giving all these benefits, that they are not owed Social Security. I'm sorry, you didn't pay any Social Security, you don't get squat. You're not an American citizen, you don't get it. I'm sorry, plain and simple. Somebody like us who have been paying for it ever since we had our first job as teenagers, we have a right to the Social Security. You don't if you are here illegally. A lot of them are getting paid cash under the table. But again, it's to buy people off.
Yep.
Not only for this terrorist attack that they want, and they're probably promising their son in the moon. They're probably promising them all these things that they're going to get. Oh, you're going to get this and you're going to get that. When really they're not. So remember, God said, and their foreign militia was going to turn on them because their demands are not being met.
Yeah.
So things are not going to go as they plan. And I think a lot of people are starting to turn against each other. Like I said, look, they're turning against Schumer. They're going to start turning against other people. You know, a lot of people are mad at Obama because they feel like Obama has, failed because they got rid of Joe and then they put in Kamala, and Kamala was a bigger failure than Joe. And so, I mean, there is just constant turmoil and disarray in that camp.
Yeah. Again, Barack got royalties from the Obamacare, 2.6 million. I think the number is that he made over $40 million from taxpayer money on Obamacare royalties. And there was just a report this week or last week that Michelle was getting some money too from taxpayer dollars. I don't remember how much, but not good. There's going to be more that they're going to find. It's pure evil. You were saying about Letitia James. I kind of went off on a sidetrack. I think I was supposed to answer the judges, but Letitia James and the other named judges that you heard.
So a couple months ago, I had it might even been a year. I don't know. It's been a while. I've had a few on her actually. Letitia James, the truth is coming. Who set her up to go after President Trump? Follow the money, find the truth. Explosive evidence is coming to dismantle every fake indictment against my David, and true justice will be served. Look to who paid Letitia, and you will find more evidence. More truth you will find. The architects who made up all the fake court cases and court charges against him. Letitia, you will be removed, says the Lord of hosts. Now, I got this yesterday. Chris sent this to me because, again, I don't always listen and watch the news. But about an hour after my live show yesterday, giving out this prophecy, big development, is Letitia James guilty of mortgage fraud?
Oh, yeah.
And apparently, not only that, but he couldn't find, all of a sudden, of course, you know how they delete certain things.
Yep.
She had to pay him back like $54,000 or something like that. I don't remember. President Trump or something. I know Fannie Willis is in trouble. She's going down right now, and she's got to pay a whole bunch of stuff back. So a lot of things are going to start happening with these indictments. I've had prophecy after prophecy, even back right after the indictments happened. I think even one was before when he said you were going to hear indictments in the news more and more. But then he also talked about how the indictments were going to come to nothing. And the indictments were also going to be exposed. And the ones who brought the indictments were going to be indicted themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So that Letitia James you're talking about, I think that got snatched out of the new. I remember seeing that article and I haven't seen it since. But maybe because there's just so much other information going out. But what she got caught doing was mortgage fraud. And that's the same thing that they tried to accuse President Trump of. But she did it and he didn't. And then Fannie Willis, not only did she's cooked in the squat, but there's a trail back to her meeting several times in the White House with Joe Biden.
Yeah, I've had so many prophecies on Fannie Willis, and he said he was going to bring her down. He was going to expose her, and he was going to show the tie that she had to the White House and to the Biden regime and the directions that she was given to bring this indictment in. And it was all going to fall. So it is. And I remember, like, right after that happened, then there was proof that Nathan Wade also went to the White House, and he had White House meetings. So that was after I heard that original prophecy of her ties to the White House. So there are so many things that are going to come out, and all these people. And I have Jack Smith and Alvin Bragg next. I'm going to go over, but he has mentioned all those DOJs or AGs that went after President Trump. He's all talked about them being indicted because this is a time of the days of Haman. They tried to indict him. They tried to end his life and his career, and now it's going to happen to them. And we're going to start seeing more and more stuff come out about all of them, especially those four.
Yeah, it's going to boomerang. I got a call yesterday from Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell and I were talking, and he's going to be on with me tomorrow. So I'll let him say it because I don't know if he said it publicly or not, but I'll just talk about a little bit. There's an AG in Minnesota that's going after Mike Lindell again, trying to bring down Lindell Recovery Network. Lindell Recovery Network is for addicts and Christians. It's a nonprofit that Mike put together to help people. And the AG is doing it because he's a Christian. There's no doubt in my mind. And that's got to stop.
I think there was also prophecy on Mike Lindell. I'll have to go back. I thought he said that he'd be vindicated, and whatever was stolen from him would be given back to him. I think, and obviously a lot more. So I do believe Mike Lindell will definitely be vindicated, especially when all these court cases come out, and especially with all the election. When the election comes out, it's all coming out, and his name will 100% be vindicated when all that happens.
Yep. And it's just, Mike, poor Mike. I mean, he's a fighter. He could have just said on the phone to me last night, hey, woe is me. I can't catch a break. I get every step forward. I get hit 5 times. He just said, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting. And it was just Mike Lindell. He was in a great mood. And we talked for about 45 minutes to an hour, and he's going to fight this, and light will win. So support Mike Lindell. He's a patriot.
And I want people not only to support him, I want them to pray for him.
Yes.
I want them to pray, and I will have my team pray for that he is vindicated, but also that he has that even more of a endurance and boldness, and that he knows exactly what to say, when to say it, that his steps are ordered by God. I'm telling you, he's very special to the Lord. From what he's doing, because he has put all of this up on the line for the sake of country and the sake of the truth. And so God will protect those. Even though it looks like the enemy is trying to destroy his life, just like they have with everyone else, like, Rudy Giuliani and General Flynn. And you have, Steve Bannon and all those ones, Peter Navarro, all those ones.
Yeah.
That, I mean, one of our personal friends has just went through the ringer and went through court cases, and, supposedly he lost the court case. I told him that God was going to vindicate that and turn it around, no matter what it looked like. I said God was going to turn this around, and I'm like, don't give up on it. Truth is going to prevail, especially when this big lie comes down, and they'll have to.
And I talked to him yesterday, who you're referring to, and he could just said, woe is me, I give up. But his faith in the Lord keeps him fighting. And he says, you know what? I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
I am not going to quit. He's more determined now, believe it or not, than he was before. Not saying a lot. So one thing I forgot.
I can see that. Yeah.
is everybody watching this today is what Julie just said. Please pray for Mike Lindell. That is one of the things I asked, what can we do to help? And he said, pray. If you can pray for me, because pray for Mike Lindell, breakthrough truth to come out. He's been a patriot. He's a Christian. He's put everything on the line to help save this country and get the gospel of Jesus Christ out there. And we got to support him.
We do have to support him. We have to support, we've been praying a lot for, obviously, President Trump. We've been praying a lot for Mike Lindell. We've been praying for Rudy Giuliani. We've been praying for these people that have been completely persecuted and their lives destroyed for the truth of, people are pulling it up for me. Thank you, Angie and Denise. They got the prophecies up here for me. So one of the things, it does say Mike Lindell will be vindicated. Alex Jones will be vindicated. Donald Trump and his entire family will be vindicated. Rudy Giuliani is about to be vindicated in a major way. Anyone who has been associated with my David, who was wrongfully accused or had their lives destroyed because they stood up against the establishment will all be vindicated, and everything lost will be stolen. Because these enemies will be given, everything the enemies took from them will be given back to them. I just got those prophecies from my friend. So thank you, Denise and Angie, my sister, who sent this to me. And that was from December 3rd of 2024. I mean, I heard that one for Mike Lindell and all of them for a long time. So, and Alex Jones, I mean, he's gone through a lot too, and they've destroyed, they try to destroy everything about him. And they don't destroy everything about you unless you're a threat to them, unless you're right over the target. So he said, vindication is mine. And so that's my prayer for every single one of them, is that they will be vindicated. Vengeance is mine is what God said in Hebrews at 10:30. And when we're praying these for these people, it's Hebrews 10 and 30 and said, vengeance is mine. The retribution and the meting out of full justice rests with me. I will settle the causes and the cases of my people. And that is the scripture that Rudy, Peter of Navarro, Alex Jones, everybody, Mike Lindell, everybody who has been persecuted at the extent of, this wicked rogue regime, along with President Trump's entire family. They need to use these scriptures, hold on to the scriptures, knowing that God is the one who says vengeance is his, and justice definitely will be served, and judgment will be handed down to the ones who are doing these things against them. And again, God has said this is the days of Haman. And so what they try to do to him will actually be done unto them.
Yeah, boomerang coming. Alex Jones,
Yes.
he got pummeled and he stayed strong. And, people attack Alex Jones because they say he's a fake Christian. All I can tell you is I've been in his studio with him, and he asked me to do an altar call to all of InfoWars. And when I did this altar call, the Holy Spirit came into that studio so thick, it's almost like a fog. And I look over to the left of me, and there's Alex, tears rolling down his eyes, and he was speechless. You don't ever get Alex Jones speechless. And I didn't know what to say. I said, Alex, do you feel that? And he goes, yeah, I feel it. It's just, he couldn't talk for 20 minutes. He gave me the biggest hug. But come on, to allow me, little old me, to do an altar call on InfoWars for Christ. And then I was on his show probably 6 months later, and he said, you know what? Just take the next 20 minutes and give an altar call again to how important Jesus is. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I have yet to meet him, but I do want to talk, it's eventually at some point when it's all the timing of God. Just show how special he is to God. And he has been chosen by God to be a truth teller and to be that warrior. And even though it looks like the enemy has stolen everything, this is another scripture that all of them that God said will be vindicated and had everything stolen from them, like Mike Lindell and Alex Jones and, Peter Navarro and all those guys that have been, Rudy Giuliani just rang from the ringer, and President Trump. This is a scripture. And when David and his army came back from Ziklag, this is 1 Samuel 30, they lost everything. They couldn't even cry any more tears. They were distraught. David's army was going to actually stone him. They were so mad at him, even though they were his buddies. They just came back from war together, winning a war. They came back to everything stolen. And when David went to God He encouraged himself. He went to God and he said, what do you want me to do? And God said, pursue, overtake, and recover all. So I want them to know to pursue, overtake, and recover all. And later on in that scripture, in verse 19, David recovered all. His family, the money, everything that was stolen from him. There was nothing that they didn't get back.
Mm-hmm.
They recovered all, just like God had said. And so that's the desire that God wants for all of his people, especially who are putting their lives on the line. You know, people could say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and they would stop. And a lot of people couldn't blame them. A lot of us that have been on the front lines are saying, okay, I don't know if I really want to keep doing this anymore because of all the stuff you go through all the time. But one of the things I always told God, I said, you know, and I don't lie. I tell him the struggle is real some days, and the struggle is hard, and the fight is, you know, it can be excruciating. But I told him, I said, if you put me here to do this, then you've equipped me to make it through.
Yep.
And that's what I want so many people to know, because the enemy wants to drag them down in a certain place. They tried, like literally they're surrounded and they have nothing left. Well, we always have something left because we always have God. And
right.
God is the one who will give us everything we need to get past every situation. So I hope they have that encouragement that God has them in the palm of his hands. He is protecting them, and he wants them to recover all that's been stolen from them.
Yep. Never give up. Never give up. Again, I've said this many times, but I'll never forget. In the darkest moment, 5 years ago, General Flynn said to me, he goes, they never thought we'd get back up. They thought they just blasted through, but we got back up, dusted ourselves off, and marched in the name of Christ, and we weren't going to give up. And that Reawaken tour had a lot to do with it, a lot to do with saving this country.
I had talked to him one day about that, and I said, it took us to get down on our knees, but God gave us the ability to get back up and to never surrender, and we're going to come out better than we ever were before. And I had many, you know, I've had not a whole bunch, like long conversations, but I've had conversations with him, and I love him. And I was so excited to see how, you know, President Trump appointed him. I know President Trump has offered like 10 jobs before now, but I love him. I respect him. I appreciate his, you know, sacrifice to our country, and the deep state did so much damage to him, but he never stopped fighting.
No.
And I think that just gives a lot of us courage that if he can go through these things and other people can go through these things, so can we. And they have fought a really hard battle with the deep state, but we are winning. And one of the things that the Lord showed me a long time ago, right before the election, it was election day. It was election morning. And the word of encouragement he gave is, we shouldn't be here, because the enemy has so many plans that we should not have been where we were. Mm-hmm. But because we stood, because we fought, because we refused to give up, we were where we are now, despite everything that the enemy threw at us, because we waited on the Lord and we searched him, and he's the one who got us where we are to be right now. And I think, you know, what Satan meant to destroy us, God has only made us stronger through it.
Yeah, you think about it, you know, you look back what we went through the last 4 or 5 years with COVID-19, the shutdown, the legal, you know, the lawfare, the attacks on Trump, everything in this country upside down where they were going to take over. It was unprecedented. Mm-hmm. We made it through, and we made it through only by the grace of God for such a time as this. So anybody watching, don't give up. The hardest part is over, but we got to keep busting through until glory days come, because glory days are coming.
They're 100% coming. One of the things when I hear a lot of Christians talk, because I've heard a lot of this from a lot of different people be speaking this behind the pulpits, because people go to different churches and they say, our pastors will never talk about this. They always talk about doom and gloom. They always talk about, you know, the horrors of everything that's going to happen and all hell is going to break loose. And this is what I give them encouragement. And I say, look, not one time in God's word did he ever said to you that you have to accept defeat. Now, one time that he ever said doom and gloom is going to set in and you can never get out of it. He says in Jeremiah 29:11 that he gives you hope in your final outcome. So when you hear doom and gloom, remember there's always a but behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in John 16:33, he said, in the world you have trials and tribulations and frustrations and distress. But I have overcome the world. I deprived it of its ability to harm you, and I've conquered it for you. That's the classic amplified version of that scripture. Is my favorite. Because when I was struggling, I had to keep reading that.
Yep.
We are, God said, Jesus, that was one of the last things that he told his disciples. But one of the things he said that, and the reason why he said that, don't be surprised when you're going through frustration. Don't be surprised when you're going through tests and trials. I never said you weren't going to have any. I said that I have overcome the world and I deprived it of its ability to harm you. So it should not conquer you. So we've been called to this battle. We are destined to win it. Satan wants people to believe that they don't have a hope in their final outcome. And God said in his word more than once that we're world overcomers. Jesus has stormed the enemy. He's already made the enemy, he's a loser. And so he's trying to make us accept a defeat that's not ours to accept. So we have to start believing the truth instead of believing the lie.
That's right. And be inspired by the word of God every day. We go through these trials. I was in the book of Acts the other day and seeing Paul in the apostles being beaten, thrown into jail. And as soon as they get out, they weren't like, oh, poor me. What did I go through? They gave praise to God because they knew those trials and tribulations were to give him glory and nothing was going to stop them. And that's the attitude we need to take because we are conquerors in Jesus Christ. Conquerors, not failures, conquerors.
Just think about Paul and Silas. They didn't, woe is me, we're going to die in a couple hours. They started praising and worshiping God, and all of a sudden the earthquake came and the doors of the prison cell opened up wide and they were all free. That's what God wants us to do, because when we praise and worship, God shows up. And just like, in 2 Chronicles 20, the prophet said to Jehoshaphat and his army, you don't have to fight in this battle. The battle is the Lord's.
Yep.
They praise and worship. God set up ambushes, and by the time they got to where the great army was against them, they were all dead. They turned on each other. And so God's people didn't have to lift a finger. The only thing they had to do was carry the spoils of war away. They never had to fight in it. God's not asking us to fight in that fight. And, we have to do all these things ourselves. The fight is that we don't give up.
That's right.
The fight is that we don't quit. The fight is that we trust and believe in God no matter what we see. That's the fight. God fights our enemy. God's destroyed us. Our fight is not to give up and to believe his evil report.
Yeah, I remember going just before we kicked off New York with Reawaken. Clay and I were talking, and they really wanted to arrest us. They truly tried to arrest us. And Clay and I look at each other, what are you going to do if they arrest us? And we both looked at the same time. Prison ministry. That's what we got to do.
Yep.
We're going to do.
Be Paul and Silas.
Yep. Yep. God has a plan. You got to just trust his plan, Heaven is real.
And I can't wait till next time I get on here. I have more on New York that I will give you next week.
Không giết người đoạt bảo A-hát. Diệp không tranh thủ thời gian nhảy ra nửa bước, cười nói, đây là ta đổi cho ngươi khi thảm điều kiện. Ngươi không đáp ứng tựu không đổi tốt rồi. Thì thật bằng lương tâm nói, ngươi thất thải lăng so với ta khi thảm có quan hệ tốt. Không đổi tựu không đổi, bất quá ngươi phải đáp ứng ta. Không cho phép cùng nữ nhân ở cái này phi trên nệm đánh. Pháo, Luyện Nhược Lan lại rất không nói đạo lý nói, Luyện cô nương, cái này cũng kỳ quái. Đây là Diệp mẫu việc tư, ta mang mấy nữ nhân người đi lên, đánh mấy pháo, dường như với ngươi không có sao. Diệp không phiền muộn nói, ta mặc kệ, dù sao ta không được. Luyện Nhược Lan nói xong, lại ném ra thất thải lăng, đỏ mặt nhảy tới, cũng như chạy trốn rời đi. Này, tiểu tử, nhà đầu kia vừa ý ngươi rồi. Hoàng Tuyền lão tổ chập chập 2 tiếng, lại khen, chúc cơ trung kỳ A-hát, nếu như cùng ngươi song tu, vậy ngươi phải chiếm nhiều đại tiện nghi. Nói sau nhà đầu kia tướng mạo cũng là mỹ lật ra, bộ ngực nhỏ nhiều rất, còn có cái kia vành lên mông đít nhỏ, tự là ảnh tộc mỹ nữ cũng so nàng mỹ không đi nơi nào. Thấy lão tổ ta đều thần bất thủ xá, tâm hồn đi đâu mất, rồi, cút, thiếu nói vậy. Diệp không mắng xong Hoàng Tuyền lão tổ, liền toạc hạng ngồi xuống, Thế nhưng mà Thủy Trung không thể tĩnh hạ tâm, mà đứng tại thất hải lăng bên trên Luyện Nhược Lan cũng là trong nội tâm chứa hai con tựa như tâm hoảng ý loạn, cúi đầu cũng không biết tưởng cái gì. Đúng lúc này, Diệp Không đột nhiên nghe được Hoàng Tuyền lão tổ nhắc nhở. Coi chừng, phía trước rừng cây có mai phục, một tái trúc cơ hậu kỳ, một tái luyện khí hậu kỳ, cường đại như vậy, Diệp không dám lãnh đạo, tranh thủ thời gian dùng linh thức cho Luyện Nhược Lan truyền âm. Bắt đầu Luyện Nhược Lan còn không tin, thầm nghĩ ta đều không có cảm giác đến, người cái này luyện khí tầng 4 như thế nào lại cảm giác được đâu này. Bất quá Diệp cũng không có cùng Luyện Nhược Lan tranh chấp, mà là điều chỉnh phương hướng, muốn xa xa điện lách qua mai phục địa điểm. Mai phục lấy lưỡng người tu sĩ vốn là tưởng khi bọn hắn từ đỉnh đầu trải qua lúc đánh lén, ai ngờ bọn hắn lại dường như biết có mai phục, xa rời đi xa rồi. Cái này mai phục người sốt ruột rồi, chính mình hiện thân mà ra, đuổi theo. Nhị vị vội vàng ly khai bách trùng trải, đây là muốn nướng chạy đi đâu đâu này. Một cái buồn rười rượi thanh âm từ sau phương truyền đến. Luyện Nhược Lan nhìn lại, phát hiện Ưng Ngốc chân nhân mang theo hắn chính là cái kia tiểu nhị theo trong rừng cây bay ra. Thật đúng là có mai phục. Luyện Nhược Lan có chút giật mình nhìn một chút Diệp không biết hắn vì cái gì có thể cảm giác được có người mai phục. Sư môn có mệnh, nhanh chóng chạy về. Như thế nào? Ưng Ngốc chân nhân không có mở cửa, tại sao có thể có thời gian đến tiễn ta nhóm bọn họ? Diệp không cười dừng lại thi thảm, tiễn đưa các ngươi. Ha ha. Ưng Ngốc chân nhân cười ha ha. Xác thực, ta là tiễn đưa các ngươi đấy. Nói xong hai mắt mạnh mà trừng. What? Ta chính là tiễn đưa các ngươi xuống địa ngục đấy. Ta đối phó Ưng Ngốc, ngươi đối với sao cái kia luyện khí hậu kỳ, có hay không độ khó? Lập tức một hồi đại chiến không thể tránh được. Luyện Nhược Lan nhanh chóng dùng linh thức truyền âm hỏi, ta còn tưởng rằng ngươi muốn ta đối phó Ưng Ngốc đây này. Diệp không vẫn là cười tâu tuét thái độ, không có đứng đắn. Luyện Nhược Lan giận một câu, lại nói, được rồi, chờ ta giải quyết Ưng Ngốc, lại tới giúp ngươi đem hắn ngăn chặn là tốt rồi. Luyện Nhược Lan nói xong, một vòng trong tay chữ vật cửu trạc, cực phẩm pháp khí bát giác sa bàn đã nơi tay. Lão tặc, ngươi trận đấu thua, còn chẳng biết xấu hổ, vẫn mở lấy Vân Phù Các, chúng ta đều không có với ngươi so đo, hiện tại rõ ràng dám can đảm chặn đường chúng ta, ngươi chán sống a. Luyện Nhược Lan giẫm phải thất hải lăng nghênh tiếp Ưng Ngốc chân nhân. Ưng Ngốc bản cho là mình trúc cơ sau đối phó trúc cơ trong nắm chắc, có thể trông thấy Luyện Nhược Lan xuất ra cực phẩm pháp khí, hắn cũng không khỏi được ngưng tụ lại thần, vỗ túi trữ vật, một chỉ cực phẩm pháp khí hỏa hồng đại thái rùi tự xuất hiện trước người. Chương 132, chiến Ưng Ngốc. Ha ha, ta Ưng Ngốc chân nhân bán phù nhiều năm, cũng không có một chỉ chữ vật cửu trạc. Hắc hắc, hôm nay muốn đã nhận được, xem ra giết người đoạt bảo, xác thực so đứng đắn sinh ý tới cũng nhanh a hát. Ưng Ngốc chân nhân cười ha ha, tay áo vung lên, huyền trước người hỏa chùy tự phát ra ông phong linh thanh. Cái này hỏa chùy dài ước chừng 3 thước, giống như một thanh trường kiếm, bất quá cùng kiếm bất đồng chính là hỏa thì kiếm thể bộ phận là dài nhỏ cái rồi hình dáng. Cái này hỏa chùy bất trụ lay động, phát ra ông thanh âm, phảng phất đang sống, không thể chờ đợi được muốn lao ra giết người. Cô nương, người tự nếm thử bách phong chùy lợi hại không? Ưng Ngốc giống lên một tiếng, vung tay lên, bách phong chùy tự đã bay đi ra ngoài. Cực phẩm pháp khí mà thôi, xem ta cực phẩm sa bàn. Bát giác sa bàn tại Luyện Nhược Lan dưới sự khống chế cũng đã bay đi ra ngoài, giống như tấm chắn chặn bách phong chùy. Luyện Nhược Lan cùng Ưng Ngốc chân nhân đấu cùng một chỗ. Bên này Diệp không cùng cái kia tiểu nhị cũng làm lên. Tại cái đó tiểu nhị xem ra chính mình trận chiến cần phải sẽ thắng được rất nhẹ nhàng rất đẹp. Đối phương mới tiến vào luyện khí tầng 4 AH, nói cách khác hắn vừa mới học ổn nắm giữ pháp khí, mà loại này vừa học chi nhân, có thể phát huy pháp khí một thành uy năng cũng đã không tệ rồi. Cho nên tiểu nhị cảm giác mình giết Diệp không dễ như trở bàn tay. Hắn cũng không nói nhảm, đưa tay lấy ra một thanh phi kiếm tự giết tới đây. Diệp không biết rõ hắn kinh thị chính mình, lập tức tương kế tự kế, ném ra một cái băng châm phù về sau, thúc giục phi thảm, quay đầu lại bỏ chạy. Tiểu tử, muốn chạy trốn, chạy đi đâu? Cái kia tiểu nhị thầm nghĩ, luận vé bùa, ta không bằng ngươi, có thể luận giết người, ngươi tự quá non rồi. Trông thấy Diệp không như thế bất lực, Luyện Nhược Lan trong nội tâm quyến lên, nàng vốn định lại để cho Diệp không ngăn chặn tiểu nhị vài lần hợp. Đợi nàng tiêu diệt Ưng Ngốc chân nhân đã giúp Diệp không giết chết tiểu nhị, nhưng ai biết Diệp không liền cả người ta một chiêu đều tiếp bất chủ. Cái này lại để cho Luyện Nhược Lan lo lắng, nàng cố tình đi trợ giúp Diệp không, có thể Ưng Ngốc chân nhân cũng không phải đèn đá cạn dầu. Luyện Nhược Lan cái này một lòng thần lắc lư, Ưng Ngốc chân nhân lập tức có sở cảm ứng. Hắc hắc, ra Bách Phong chùy còn có một thần bí công năng đây này. Tiểu nha đầu, ngươi nhất định phải chết. Ưng Ngốc chân nhân tâm thần khẽ động, ngón giữa cùng ngón trỏ đối với Luyện Nhược Lan một ngón tay. Đi, cái kia Bách Phong chùy nghe lời địa bước xuống dưới bát giác sa bàn. Quay đầu hướng Luyện Nhược Lan đâm tới. Ngươi đừng nhìn ta, coi chừng chính mình. Diệp không dùng truyền âm giống tỉnh Luyện Nhược Lan, nàng quay đầu nhìn lại, chỉ thấy Bách Phong chùy đã ông kêu mãnh liệt nhào đầu về phía trước. Đem làm bổn cô nương không có phòng ngự pháp khí mà. Luyện Nhược Lan lại một vòng chữ vật thủ trạc, một chỉ tinh xảo màu bạc tiểu phiên tròn xuất hiện trong tay, chuẩn bị dùng cái này đối kháng Bách Phong chùy. Ha ha, nhóc nha đầu, ngươi chống đỡ được mà. Ưng Ngốc thực trong lòng người cuồng tiếu, đợi cho Bách Phong chùy bay đến Luyện Nhược Lan trước người không xa. Hắn đột nhiên hét lớn một tiếng, tán, chỉ thấy cái kia Bách Phong chùy lập tức phân tán, hóa làm mấy trăm chỉ đầu ngón tay dài ngắn hỏa hồng mũi nhọn, theo bốn phương tám hướng Luyện Nhược Lan đánh úp lại. Luyện Nhược Lan tâm thần vừa thu lại, không dám phân tâm, toàn lực ứng phó. Ở này hai người chiến đấu đến kịch liệt lúc, Diệp không bên kia cũng chiến, bất quá hắn bên này tình hình chiến đấu một chút cũng không tinh màu. Diệp không phía trước bên cạnh trốn, Tiểu Nhị tại phía sau truy. Cái kia Tiểu Nhị trong nội tâm vui vẻ a hát, tiểu tử này gần đây bán phù phát tài, nếu như ta trước giết hắn đi, đoạt được hắn túi trữ vật, Ưng Ngốc chân nhân chắc có lẽ không có ý kiến. Cho dù Ưng Ngốc không phải những tu đối thủ, mình cũng có thể cầm túi trữ vật đào tẩu. Trong mắt hắn, Diệp không cũng đã là hắn đồ ăn trên bảng một khối thịt. Chỉ có điều cái này thịt cũng không ăn ngon như vậy. Diệp không cảm giác được thời cơ chín mùi, đột nhiên vỗ túi trữ vật, chỉ thấy một chỉ canh trung đồng ken bay ra. Một giây sau, Diệp không ngón trỏ bắn ra, nhiếp hồn linh lập tức phát ra thanh thúy địa một tiếng. Ken, cái này âm công làm cho người ta khó lòng phòng bị. Làm sao huống là một cái không hề chuẩn bị, kinh nghiệm chiến đấu cũng không phong phú người đâu. Cái kia Tiểu Nhị lập tức đã bị một tiếng này chấn đắc đại não một mảnh mơ hồ. Tu sĩ quyết đấu, lại ngắn ngủi thất thần cũng sẽ có nguy hiểm tính mạng. Diệp không cười lạnh một tiếng, đưa tay một ngón tay, đi. Cái kia tiểu kiếm pháp khí như tật điện bắn ra, oanh, điện thoáng một phát, Tiểu Nhị linh lực vòng bảo hộ đã bị oanh phá. Linh lực vòng bảo hộ vừa vỡ, Tiểu Nhị đại não cũng thanh tỉnh, bất quá hắn muốn chạy trốn đã không còn kịp rồi. Tiểu kiếm pháp khí đánh bại linh lực vòng bảo hộ cũng không có giảm tốc độ, trong chớp mắt tựu đâm thấu Tiểu Nhị thân thể, đem lồng ngực của hắn chỗ oanh mở một cái đại lỗ thủng. Mạng ta xong rồi. Tiểu Nhị cảm giác được chính mình sinh cơ đang nhanh chóng bị hút ra, lập tức thân thể của hắn hãy cùng gọc gỗ tựa như đánh tới hướng rừng cây. Tiếp sau thành thật làm ngươi Tiểu Nhị, giết người không phải ngươi làm. Diệp không hừ lạnh một tiếng, đưa tay đoạt lấy túi trữ vật, đã bay trở về, đem làm Diệp không trở về. Luyện Nhược Lan cùng Ưng Ngốc đều rất giật mình, thầm nghĩ hắn không phải mới vừa bị Tiểu Nhị đuổi theo chạy mà, như thế nào trong nháy mắt sẽ đem Tiểu Nhị giết. Ưng Ngốc chân nhân trông thấy giúp đỡ đã chết, hắn cũng không khỏi được tăng thêm tốc độ. Nhanh, hắn lại là một ngón tay, chỉ thấy cái kia mấy trăm chỉ tiểu phong chùy đều cùng nổi điên ong vò vẽ, theo từng cái phương hướng đâm về Luyện Nhược Lan. Trong tu tiên giới, so sánh lợi hại pháp khí, Trăm Đình pháp khí tuyệt đối là xếp hạng hàng đầu đấy. Thật nhỏ, uy lực lại không nhỏ, đâm rách đối phương linh khí cháu vô cùng đơn giản, dù là chỉ có một cây gai trong đối phương, cũng sẽ biết đã muốn đối phương tánh mạng. Mấy trăm quả hỏa phong chùy, uy lực xác thực không giống bình thường. Luyện Nhược Lan chỉ có một mặt tiểu tiên thuẫn, muốn tưởng ngăn trở nhiều như vậy đồng thời bay tới phong châm, hoàn toàn không có khả năng. Ha ha, chết đi. Ưng Ngốc chân nhân cười ha ha, lập tức muốn có chữ vật thủ trạc rồi, hắn có thể không vui mà. Diệp không cũng phát hiện bên này nguy cơ, mang lấy phi thảm hỏa tốc chạy đến.